Good morning. It is 5 a.m. 5 a.m., the Cliff Yates Show podcast. We are day 4 of 5 in this series I'm doing, 5 days at 5 a.m., based on the principles in the book, The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. If you haven't already, get the book. I have it in audio. I have it in Kindle, and I'm rereading it now for the third or fourth time. It's an easy read, and I've been seeing, maybe because I've been talking about writing posts about the 5 a.m. Club, I'm seeing more and more other people's posts about the 5 a.m. Club. So a lot of people are in that club. Yesterday was a great day, not just because we started our day with the 5 a.m. Club at 5 a.m., but because here in Florida, it was just one of those glorious days. Here, the sun was shining all day. The temperature started off really cold, probably 50, maybe a little below early morning, 5 a.m. But then 2 in the afternoon, 76 degrees. And here on the beach, just the right sea breeze, not real gusty and blowing hard, but just a perfect sea breeze. I spent over 2.5 hours sitting on the beach, feeding my mind, learning some stuff. Podcast. And then sometimes during that 2.5 hours, I just took in visually and auditorially what I was hearing. Just the sound of the waves and the sound of the birds, all the shore birds, and the sound of the people. There's quite a few, not just snowbirds down here, but it's spring break time, and you can really tell that the youth are down here on the beach playing beach volleyball and just throwing the football around and having a great time. It was just one of those perfect days here in Florida. January and February right here, we're not in southern Florida, so we're kind of in the central coast on the Space Coast. So it was a little bit cold January, February. So this past March 19th, yesterday, was just perfect. Enjoyed time on the beach. But here we are, 5 a.m. Club, the quietude of the morning, day 4 of 5, and we've been at it. We've been able to go live every day, 5 a.m. sharp, which means after this series is over, I can continue to be in the 5 a.m. Club by getting up at 5 a.m. But to get this to you, to spend this time with you at exactly 5 a.m. live, and as I've said, I've wanted to go live so that I'm walking the talking. I have to be up by 4:30. And now today was the first day this week that I woke up to the alarm. So day 1, 2, 3, I was already awake. I awoke around 4:10, 4:15. And each of those days I was up by 4:20, 4:25. But today, 4:30, I had the alarm go off. And last night I pre-set up the studio here on the beach. So I was ready to go after I had just a little bit of coffee to start the day. And I like to start the day with a little bit of coffee and a little bit of heavy cream in there. So, which heavy cream is a fat, so I'm not spiking a glucose surge in my system where it requires, a surge of insulin. No, black coffee, either black or with a little heavy cream, which I did today. All right, let's get to the first slide in the book, and we'll make a comment. This was, I found some good stuff yesterday as I pre-set up. So the night before, I get my show notes ready for the day to hit you at 5 a.m. The 5 a.m. Club, everybody. Now, as I've told you in the previous days, and if you haven't already, start from day 1. The book is really a fictional tale about a seminar, a business seminar, and the person who's speaking and teaching is called the Spellbinder. And it focuses on 2 people attending the seminar, the artist and the entrepreneur. And then they meet up with the billionaire. And the billionaire takes them on a trip to different places in his helicopter, his plane, and to his private island and Rome. And he's telling him, and he's teaching those two about the 5 a.m. club. And it's a really a great story. So a lot of the conversations that I'm talking about happens on the breaks at the seminar between the artist, the entrepreneur, and the billionaire. And then also when they're on the billionaire's private island, or they're in the plane flying, or they're going to some amazing location, and he's just instilling these principles based on the foundation of the 5 a.m. club, and how the billionaire learned the 5 a.m. club principle and what it did for him. So in the first one, this is the billionaire talking, but I am being serious. Beautiful things happen once you commit seriously to peak fitness and go hard on cheating aging. Just imagine living an extra few decades and staying ultra healthy as you do so. That's another few decades to refine your craft, to grow into an even more influential leader, to produce work that's radical artistry, to compound your prosperity, and to build a luminous legacy that will enrich all of humanity. Epic producers and great leaders understand that you just can't rise to mastery without leveraging and then armor plating your vitality. Every day is just dramatically better with some exercises in it. I need to say that again because it's so essential to a life amazingly lived. Every day is just dramatically better with some exercise in it. And few things feel as good as getting uber fit. I guess what I'm offering to you is that Health Set is all about dialing in your physical dimension so your brain is operating at its highest level of cognition, and so your energy is igniting, and so your stress is dissolving, and so your joy is expanding. Getting really healthy and ultra fit worked wonders for my business, Hey, that goes right along with I'm always saying and telling and sharing. I'm going to the gym. I'm walking on the beach. Exercise can take in a myriad of activities that count as exercise. And walking is just one of those amazing things that's not too hard to do. And the benefits of just walking is amazing. Why it's so easy to do. And why do so many people not do it? Because it's so easy not to do. And I think I brought this up on another episode where I've heard it said, well, why are you focusing so much on staying healthy? You can't not die or reverse aging per se. You're just going to die healthy. That's exactly right. Our life doesn't have to be on a downward tilt. We can actually live till we die. And there's a lot of great examples out there. And the foundation to that is being fit, being healthy, being active. And that encompasses, every once in a while sprinting, every once in a while lifting heavy things, use progressive resistance, weight-bearing exercise and movement. It just strengthens your spine, and working out is not just for the outer muscles, but also for our inner organs are healthier when we are exercising and using weight-bearing movements. Get fit, get healthy, and start where you're at right now. And you can exponentially just get better and better each day in every way. So that was really a good lesson. So then that's one thing in this book, The 5 a.m. Club, the billionaire is always, every once in a while he just jumps down and does some push-ups, and he's ultra fit, leaving a legacy. Just imagine what you can accomplish maybe in the years of 60 to 70, 70 to 80. Grandma Moses, or she became a painter in her, I believe, 80s. And so what if she died at 70? She wouldn't have been able to produce those great works of art that she produced later in life because she had energy, vitality, and apparently good health and a drive to do more. All right, listen, the next excerpt from the book, small, daily, seemingly insignificant improvements, when done consistently over time, yield staggering results. Reinforced the entrepreneur. recalling one of the brain tattoos she'd been schooled in during this magical adventure. "Yes," declared the billionaire, cheerfully, as he stretched and then touched his toes while whispering to himself, "Life is good, and I must help these two kind souls become great before it's too late." I always talk about self-talk, what we're saying to ourselves, and when we want to change our state, what do? We change our movement. Motion affects emotion. So if we just move differently, we move more powerfully, it's going to change how we're thinking. Then we can change our focus and then change what we're saying to ourselves, what we're saying to our brain. Life is good. These incantations are very important to your brain. Your brain takes them as orders on what to think and do. So very important what you're saying to yourself on a daily basis, and also these small, daily, seemingly they're not insignificant, but they're not. Each step, right? A walk from LA to New York begins with a single step, and each single step along the way is important in the chain of events that leads to the end goal. That's a really, really good message right there. All right, the next one here from the 5 a.m. Club. The first insight I'll offer you here is that your brain is constructed for expansion. Yes, I'll agree. Those who are stuck in their pro and personal lives, and those who are working under a mentality of can't versus running a psychology of possibility, will argue that there's no way they can make the improvements they need to make by wiring in great habits like being members of the 5 a.m. Club, like you and I are right now. They'll fight to the death on the reality of why it's impossible for them to accelerate their creativity, productivity, prosperity, performance, and impact. They'll totally try to get you to believe their rationalization for being unable to materialize an amazing career and manifest an exquisite private life. Yep, people will argue against them expanding their mind, expanding their knowledge, expanding how much better they can become. And they will convince themselves to be stuck in mediocrity, which is a no-no for us. We are masters of excellence, and we are constantly trying to sharpen the iron with iron. And that's why you're in the 5 a.m. Club, or you're going to join up. Absolutely. Oh, this was a great quote. It's attributed to Muhammad Ali. "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit, suffer now, and live the rest of your life as a champion." Well, wasn't he always, not only, obviously he was saying these things to himself because he would say in public, I'm the greatest of all time. I'm the champion. I am the world champ. I'm the greatest. And he was always saying this to himself in public. So I imagine he was just probably recounting what he said to himself on a daily basis, and it had an effect on his mind, the way he thought, the way he trained. Now, me, I love training. I love physical training. I've habituated it so much that I'm very joyful in doing it. I can't not do it for very long. I can go 2-3 days, but then I need to be in the gym, or I need to be doing the push-ups. I need to be doing the body squats. I need to be moving around, playing tennis. And if I'm not doing those for a few days, I get a little antsy. So I've habituated that, and I enjoy it. I enjoy that process. All right, the next excerpt from the book. The first insight I'll offer you here is that your brain, I just read that one. Your brain is constructed for expansion. I know what I was thinking. I wanted to expand on that just a little bit. I had a slide, maybe it's coming up, about how Our brain has what they refer to as neuroplasticity. In other words, it changes constantly. So when you can see evidence of that when someone has a stroke, when they have an injury, when they maybe lose a limb, they have to learn all over the brain. Different parts of the brain will then step up, and it will expand to learn the new movements with the other limb. And they've done numerous tests on this. And there's like the part of the brain that has it's a cognitive spatial intelligence. They've tested the thinking or the brains of London taxi drivers. And after that part of the brain that they use for navigating and geography and knowing the lay of the land and navigating through the streets of London became larger. It expanded to accommodate the thinking that it had to do and the thoughts. And those same London drivers, when they retired, that part of the brain actually constricted. It shrank back down. They were no longer using that part of the brain. And the brain is really good at being efficient at what it's doing. That's why our brain is constantly deleting things. It's constantly trying to be more efficient. If it knows that something is not so important for being alive, then it will delete paying attention to that so that it can focus on something else that might be a danger to keep us alive. And so that's a good one. Neuroplasticity. So that's why it's good to always be learning new things, practice, and to have a new practice, maybe even to immerse ourselves in something new, like learning an instrument and daily focusing on that for hour, 2, 3 hours. And then it's okay also then change focus again. And you start to use different parts of your brain, and your brain will expand to accommodate. So we need to always be becoming more. And our brain has the capacity to be and do much more than we give it credit or make or demand of it. Oh, here's an excerpt that just goes to what I was talking about. Science now confirms that our brains can continue to grow throughout our lives. This beautiful phenomenon is called neuroplasticity, and it speaks to the fact that the human brain, like personal willpower, is a lot more like a muscle than previously understood. It's plastic in a way because push it, it'll expand. Flex it, and it'll extend and become more potent for your use in the tallest expression of your most radiant gifts. So you want to make sure you exercise your brain aggressively to make new habits, like getting up early, your new normal. Neurons that fire together, wire together. As you repeat the routine you wish to add to your lifestyle, it becomes easier. There's a neural pathway, and it becomes more familiar. That's a really important point to contemplate, and then act on it. That's an important point to contemplate, to think about, and then take action on. You can do it with just a small little thing, like starting to get up at the 5 a.m. club. Little things, read a book on something that maybe hasn't been your interest, something way out there. How septic tanks work. It's going to expand your brain. That's what's great about reading the Bible. Everything is biblical if you read the book. A lot of people will not read the book. They don't look at the book. They don't want to. I don't want to read those stories. They want to discount that there's any truth to the matter. In fact, there's been so many, and I'm going to do a podcast on this. There are so many one-time atheists, as C.S. Lewis was, one-time atheists that became Christians when they started researching the Word from the Bible, putting together historical accounts together with recent discoveries over the last few decades that matched up perfectly with what was written in the Bible, and they became Christian. And some of these atheists set out to prove that the Bible was not true, that they were just stories made up. They couldn't have happened. And numerous numerous authors, researchers, investigators who've gone out with the intention, proving the Bible wrong, have become believers. They become Christian because they got into the Word and they looked and they held it up to the light to see how true could this be. There's one police officer in California, and he started looking at it as a cold case. All right, let's read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and these are accounts of the time Jesus was here on earth. And what time period did they write their part of the Bible? And how close to the actual events that they wrote about? Were they an eyewitness to the events? Were they just recounting what an eyewitness told them? And then they would compare that to the written word in the Old Testament prior to the life of Jesus. And in the end, he came up with, and he was an atheist too, and he came up with the conclusion the Bible is real. It is, in other words, it is true. And based on investigating the Bible as a cold case, which is what he does, homicides. He does cold case homicides. And so he applied that investigation to discovering how true the Bible was. And he is now a believer, and he goes around the country teaching how he came to the conclusion that the Bible, it was in fact true. And if you read the Bible, boy, will it expand your thinking, your neuroplasticity will be in full action. And I think that's probably a good time to end this live podcast, this fourth day of our 5 a.m. Club podcast live. And I'll see you tomorrow on day 5. And now I'm going to go get into the Word myself. You know I love you. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, follow on the podcast platforms, give me a review. You know I love you. See you in the next episode.